The screams were so loud that the country music playing inside Bobby Mackey's bar couldn't drown them out. Glasses shook on the counter, the lights flickered, and the stage microphone started to squeal all on its own. The band stopped playing. Everyone froze. Then, without warning, the trapdoor behind the stage burst open. A blast of icy air rushed out like something alive. The crowd gasped as a woman in a torn white dress crawled halfway out, her hair dripping black water, her eyes hollow and dark. She whispered something that made the blood in everyone's veins run cold. "You opened it again?" Before anyone could move, the floorboards beneath her cracked, and she was yanked backward into the hole with a scream so sharp it sounded like metal tearing apart. The trapdoor slammed shut on its own. Silence filled the room. The smell of rotten water hung in the air. Bobby Mackey stood frozen behind the bar, his hands shaking. He had heard the legends, the stories about the gateway to hell hidden under his music club, but he never believed them. Until now. Then the jukebox turned on by itself, playing a slow country song backward. Everyone ran for the doors but they wouldn't open. It was like the bar itself had locked them in. The lights dimmed again and a red glow began to spread from under the trapdoor. And then, something started climbing out. It had all begun months earlier, long before the bar was filled with terrified faces. Back then, Bobby Mackey's music world was just a lively country bar in Wilder, Kentucky. People came to dance, sing, and have fun. Nobody thought twice about the strange concrete well sealed beneath the basement. The locals had their stories. They said the well was used for satanic rituals long ago. Some called it the Hell Gate. Others said it was where a woman named Pearl Bryan was found murdered back in the 1800s, her head missing. But Bobby laughed it off. "Ghost stories don't pay bills," he used to say. But strange things started happening not long after he bought the place. It began small, glasses sliding off shelves, the jukebox turning on without coins, the smell of sulfur filling the air at random times. One worker swore she saw a shadow walking on the ceiling. Then came Carl the caretaker. He warned Bobby never to go near the basement alone. "I worked here before you owned it," Carl told him. "There's something under that floor that's alive, or worse." Bobby thought Carl was joking. But one night after closing he heard the sound of a woman humming down below, a sad tune like an old lullaby. He went down to check. The basement was dark, the air heavy. The humming stopped when his flashlight hit the trapdoor. It was covered in dust and rusty hinges. Bobby knelt down, his hand trembling as he brushed the dirt away. He felt heat coming from underneath. Then he heard whispering, soft at first then clearer. "Let me out, please." He dropped the flashlight. It rolled across the floor, its beam shining on a smear of blood leading straight to the trapdoor. Bobby's breath caught in his throat. He backed away slowly but the whispers grew louder. The trapdoor rattled like something was pushing from underneath. And just before he reached the stairs, a deep voice, nothing like the whispering before, growled, "You can't keep me in here forever." Bobby ran upstairs and locked the basement door. For weeks he pretended nothing happened. He told no one, not even his wife. But the nightmares wouldn't stop. He dreamed of a woman's face half-burned, staring at him through the well. He could smell the same sulfur smell even in his sleep. One night, during a concert, the trapdoor opened on its own. That was the night the woman in white appeared, and the night the real horror began. The police said it was just panic, that people imagined things because of the ghost stories. But Bobby knew better. He had seen the red glow himself. He had heard the screams. And deep down he knew that whatever lived beneath Bobby Mackey's music world wasn't done yet. The red glow under the trapdoor grew brighter, painting the wooden floor with a fiery light. The jukebox still played backward, its warped tune echoing through the silent bar. Everyone stared in horror as the trapdoor began to lift, slowly, creaking like an ancient coffin. A hand, black, burned and clawed, gripped the edge. Someone screamed. A man tried to run, but the door slammed shut again, trapping everyone inside. Bobby shouted, "Get behind the bar," but his voice shook. He grabbed a pool cue like a weapon, his knuckles white. The trapdoor flew open. A rush of wind swept through the room, blowing over chairs and knocking glasses to the ground. The red light grew brighter and from the hole came a deep, choking laugh. The thing that climbed out didn't look human. It had a shape like one, a man's outline, but its face was twisted, melted, and its eyes burned like coal. The smell of sulfur filled the air again. "Who opened the door?" it growled, its voice low and echoing as if it came from deep inside the earth. Nobody answered. The lights flickered again and one by one the bulbs burst, sending sparks flying. The room fell into darkness except for the red glow from the hole. Bobby's heart pounded as the thing began to move across the floor, its footsteps heavy, shaking the stage. It turned toward Bobby. "You built your home on my doorway," it hissed. "And now you will let me through." Before he could react, the creature vanished, just disappeared into thin air. The air went still. Everyone stood frozen, waiting. Then the jukebox stopped playing. The silence was so thick it hurt. Carl, the caretaker, whispered, "It's not gone, it's underneath." Just then a loud bang shook the bar. The mirrors behind the counter shattered, and the floorboards began to pulse, up and down as if something enormous was breathing under them. One woman fainted. The others screamed and ran for the door, but the handles were burning hot. The trapdoor glowed again. Carl pulled a small silver cross from his pocket and shouted, "Back! Go back where you came from." He ran to the stage, holding the cross out over the hole. But before he could finish his prayer, something invisible threw him across the room. He hit the wall hard and didn't move. Bobby ran to help him, but then he saw it. Shadows moving on the walls, shapes of people screaming, faces with no eyes. They were circling the room, whispering in a language no one could understand. The lights flickered again, and Bobby saw the woman in white standing behind the bar. She was crying black tears. "You have to close it," she whispered, "before it takes more souls." "How?" Bobby shouted, but she only pointed at the hole before fading away like smoke. He turned back toward the trapdoor. The red glow was dimming now, but he could still hear voices, hundreds of them, whispering, begging, laughing. He grabbed a metal lid from a beer keg and slammed it over the opening, then jumped on top of it, using nails from a broken chair to hold it down. For a moment, everything went still again. Then, one final deafening scream burst from below. The sound made the walls shake and the lights explode. Bobby fell backward, covering his ears. When the sound stopped, the room was dark. The red glow was gone. The jukebox was silent. Everyone rushed out as soon as the doors finally opened, running into the cold Kentucky night. Police came minutes later, but they didn't believe what had happened. They saw only broken lights and frightened faces. Carl was taken to the hospital, still unconscious. Bobby sat outside, staring at the building. He could feel the heat of that thing still under the floor. The next morning he returned alone. The stage looked normal again, no glow, no trapdoor. It was as if the bar had healed itself overnight. But when Bobby leaned down, he noticed something new burned into the wood. A single word, black and charred, carved deep into the stage. "Open." He stumbled backward, trembling. The smell of sulfur was faint in the air again. And from somewhere beneath the floor, he could hear a faint sound, like the soft humming of a woman. The same tune as before. Days turned into weeks, but the strange things at Bobby Mackey's music world never stopped. The staff quit one by one. The bar stools creaked on their own. The jukebox played songs that no one selected. Always the same tune, the sad, slow humming that Bobby had heard from the basement. He tried to ignore it, but sleep wouldn't come. Every night, he dreamed of the woman in white standing by the trapdoor, whispering the same word over and over. "Open, open." One afternoon, Bobby called Carl, who had just been released from the hospital. Carl's voice was weak but serious. "I told you, Bobby. That well was never supposed to be touched. The ground under your club, it's cursed. That's not just a ghost down there. It's a doorway." "A doorway to where?" Bobby asked. Carl paused. "To hell." Bobby's heart thudded. He wanted to laugh it off, but deep down he knew it was true. He had seen the red glow. He had heard the voices. Carl came back to help. Together they went to the county library, digging through old newspapers and records. What they found made Bobby's blood run cold. Before his club was built, that land had been the site of a slaughterhouse in the 1800s. Animal blood was drained through a deep pit in the basement, a pit that led straight into the earth. After the slaughterhouse closed, the building became a secret meeting place for devil worshippers. Then came the story of Pearl Bryan. A young woman found murdered in 1896, her body near the property, but her head never found. Locals believed her killers used her blood in a ritual over that same pit, sealing her spirit there forever. Bobby sat frozen, staring at the newspaper photo of Pearl's smiling face. "She's the one I saw," he whispered. "The woman in white." Carl nodded slowly. "She's trapped between worlds, Bobby. The demons use her to lure others close. Once the gate opens fully, nothing can close it again." That night, Bobby couldn't stay away. Something inside him needed to see it again. He returned to the club alone, carrying a flashlight and a hammer. The stage was quiet, the smell of beer faint in the air. But when he shone his light at the floor, the burned word "open" was gone. Instead there were footprints, wet, muddy, leading to the basement door. He followed them down the stairs. The basement was colder than ever. His breath came out in white clouds. He heard the faint humming again echoing through the darkness. He stepped closer to where the trapdoor had been. The floor looked normal now, just solid wood. But when he tapped it with his hammer, it sounded hollow. He knelt down, pressing his ear to the floor. That's when he heard it, soft knocking. 1, 2, 3 knocks. Then a woman's voice. Please, help me. Bobby's chest tightened. He whispered, Pearl? Silence. Then suddenly his flashlight went out. Total darkness. A hand grabbed his wrist. Cold. What? Real. He screamed and pulled back, falling onto the floor. The light flickered on again, and there she was. The woman in white, standing inches from him. Her face was pale and cracked like porcelain. Black water dripped from her hair. You shouldn't have come back, she whispered. He's awake now. Before Bobby could move, the ground beneath him split open. A wave of heat rushed up, burning his skin. He stumbled to his feet and ran up the stairs, slamming the basement door behind him. From the other side came the sound of footsteps, slow and heavy, climbing one step at a time. Bobby pushed a chair against the door, shaking. The humming had turned into low growls. Then, silence. He stood frozen, listening. Nothing. Just when he started to breathe again, a voice spoke softly through the wood of the door. You can't close what's already open. The temperature dropped so suddenly that Bobby's breath fogged the air. He turned slowly toward the jukebox. It was glowing red again, its lights flickering like fire. The same song played backward. And this time, the voice singing it wasn't human. The jukebox glowed like a furnace, the red light growing brighter until it filled the whole bar. The song playing backward got louder, twisting and echoing like screams buried in fire. Bobby stumbled back, clutching his ears. His heart pounded so hard he could barely breathe. The floor began to shake. Bottles flew off shelves and shattered. The air grew thick, almost impossible to breathe, and a low roar came from beneath the stage, like something ancient was waking up. Then came the smell of burning flesh. The trapdoor he'd nailed shut in the past ripped open again, splinters flying into the air. Red mist poured out, swirling like smoke from a volcano. From deep below, voices cried out, hundreds, maybe thousands, all screaming together. Bobby ran for the exit, but the doors slammed shut before he could reach them. He pounded on them, shouting for help, but no one could hear him. The music was too loud. The lights above him burst, one by one, showering sparks. A voice, low, rumbling, and full of hate, spoke from the pit. I told you, you can't keep me in here forever. The floorboards around the trapdoor began to burn, glowing red like molten metal. Bobby fell to his knees, feeling the heat rise. He saw shapes moving in the smoke, faces twisted in pain reaching up from the hole. Then something climbed out. It was massive, taller than any man, with black skin that smoked like coal and horns curling from its head. Its eyes were pure fire. It stepped out of the hole and stood on the stage, the wood hissing beneath its feet. Bobby crawled backward, frozen in terror. The thing smiled. You built a temple above my prison, it said, and filled it with music. Now I will make it sing for eternity. The jukebox screamed as every record inside it shattered. Sparks flew. The sound turned into voices chanting in a language no human could understand. Bobby's cross necklace, the one Carl had given him, burned hot against his chest. He grabbed it and held it up. Get back. You can't stay here. The demon laughed, its voice shaking the walls. You opened the door, Bobby Mackey. You called me. And I came. Suddenly, a bright white light cut through the red glow. The woman in white appeared again, standing between Bobby and the demon. Her eyes were calm now, her voice strong. You will not take him. The demon roared, stepping forward, but she raised her hand. The red mist around them began to twist, pulling back toward the pit. Bobby could feel the force like a storm wind. Chairs, bottles, even the jukebox were dragged toward the hole. The demon fought, grabbing onto the stage railing, claws tearing through wood. You can't stop me. The woman looked back at Bobby. You must seal it, forever. How? He shouted. Your blood, your sacrifice, she said. The door opened through a man's sin, it must close through a man's courage. Bobby didn't understand, but he knew what he had to do. He ran to the bar, grabbed a broken bottle and cut his palm. Blood dripped onto the burning floor. The woman began to chant, her voice echoing like thunder. The demon screamed, sinking back into the pit as the red mist twisted tighter, folding in on itself. The smell of sulfur filled the room again, then a deafening crack, like the earth itself breaking apart. The light vanished. When Bobby opened his eyes, everything was silent. The bar was in ruins. The stage was blackened, the trapdoor gone. It was as if it had never been there. The police found him hours later, lying unconscious on the floor. They said the fire had been electrical. No one believed his story, not even Carl. The bar reopened months later and life seemed to go on. But at night, when the music stops and the lights are low, Bobby sometimes hears it again, the faint hum